Hello, my dear friends. I hope everyone is fine. In the last part, we designed the Ludo board in Adobe Xd. Now we would design the same part and implement it in HTML. So this is a very basic HTML project setup. We have a scripts directory and a styles directory in which we have style and script file. And we have an HTML file where we have basic markup set. We have linked our style sheet. We have linked our JavaScript file and we have given the title. This is an empty template for HTML. Then in styles, I've defined some very basic boilerplate styles. First of all, we have set the margin, padding, and box sizing for all elements. Then we have root. We have defined some properties in root, which are basically background color, red, green, blue, yellow, and token color. The star inside the token, which we showed in the previous video. Then we have also defined our helper classes, red, green, yellow, and blue. These will come in handy for us, and we have used those properties here. And we have a body. We have defined some styles for body. We have given the background color, and we have given the display of flex and everything. So these are basic setup. Basic setup is done. Now let's start. Let's see how this looks in the browser, and then let's start implementing our design. So let me quickly uh, switch to my browser and let's see how it looks. Okay, so here we are. If you can see, this is blank screen. So let's refresh. So we have just given the background color to our page, and now let's start coding. So here we go. Now we first of all we would add Ludo board. So we would add a div called. We would give it an ID of Ludo. So this is our Ludo board, and let's bring some properties to the Ludo board. First of all, our Ludo board would have width and height. Uh, it would be a square board, so let's give it a width of 750 pixels. And we have a nice property called aspect ratio. Let's give it an aspect ratio of 1, so it would mean that width and height both are 750 pixels. And we also need to give it other properties. So let me quickly style our Ludo board. So let me quickly give the styling for the Ludo board. Here we go. And our Ludo board has a position of relative because inside the Ludo board there are many elements which might be going to have absolute position. So that's why we're giving it a relative position. Then we have this aspect ratio and width, and we have a display of flex, and flex direction is column, and we have to justify the content in the center. And right now we are doing just basic styling for Ludo board. So we have done this, and let's see how this looks. So this is our Ludo board. So now we will draw each and every element onto it. So let's get back to coding, and let's see. Okay, so we also need to have a border for our Ludo board. So for that, we would use the before selector and give it some style. So let me quickly add that style to our Ludo board. So this is the style for Ludo before element. This is a pseudo element. For each div, we get before and after elements as well. We can style them as according to our needs. So we have just given some border, which is a black color border, and we have given uh, some properties to the before element. So for if we want to use before element, we have to set the content as empty string, and we have defined its properties. So let's see how this looks. So we have rewrite. Okay, now we can see that our board has this black background, and now when we will draw on our Ludo board, we would see that all the elements would start appearing on it. So let's get back to our code. And let's start to think about what elements do we need in our Ludo board. First of all, we would need we would need a container for houses. So let's call it uh, houses, and then we would have different houses here. So we would call it house, and we would also give it a subclass of the color. So suppose we have a red house, then we have green house, then we have a red house, green house, blue house, and yellow house. So let's give them proper colors. Red, after that there is green, then there is blue, and then there is yellow. So we would use some styling for houses. So let me, okay, so because we have only one container of houses, so we can give it ID of ID of houses, and then we have this markup for four different houses. So let's see how do we style them. So in our styles, let's add this style for the houses. So this is the style for houses. The position is absolute for houses, and we have top and left to zero, width and height 100%. So it would span across all the board. Then we have the property of flex and flex wrap as wrap. This means that the flex is a row-based flex, but if the width is if the elements exceed the width, then it would set them into the next line. So this is a very important property, and we are basically setting the gap, horizontal or vertical gap, as 150 pixels, and we are giving it an outline of 1 byte. So each house, then inside the houses container, we have four houses, and each house is of 300 by 300 size. So basically 300 and a gap of 150, then another 300 size. It would make the total width of 750 pixels. So it would overflow, and then next two houses would be on the next line. So this is perfect for our use case. Let's see how this looks. Let's go to our screen and let's refresh. So we can see that we have four houses in their proper place. And now let's think about how do we add the grid. So we have added the houses, and for adding grid, first of all, there is also one more thing. We need to have four spots in each house for the let's say for the initial spaces of tokens where tokens are supposed to be. So let's call them token parking. So we have to have four of these elements here. So let's give the class of token parking, and we don't have anything inside it. So let's copy and paste it four times. So we in each house we need this token parking. So let's create these elements. When we are creating the gameplay, this would come in handy. So we have four elements each token parking in each house. So let's quickly give them some style. And also as we have seen that inside this house class, we also have the same properties, display flex and flex wrap as wrap. Then we have padding of 75 pixels. So first of all the elements would be in 75. Get horizontal vertical padding of 75 pixels. Then each element has a size of 50 pixels, and the gap is also 50 by 50. So this will make sure that the tokens, the parkings are also um, displayed like the houses. And, they would be displayed as 2 by 2, these four elements. So let's quickly uh, go to browser and check how this looks. So these are our token parking spots. Later we would place tokens on top of these. So this is these are our tokens done. So let's get back to our coding. And now we also need to add some. We need to think about grid. So first of all, we would add rows. There are two parts of the Ludo design. One is our There are horizontal rows in the center from top, and then there are vertical columns from the top side to bottom side in the center. So let me quickly add those. First of all, uh, we would need Ludo rows. So let's give it a ID of Ludo rows, and we have a class. We would make a class of Ludo grid. So then in Ludo row, have uh, we have a class called row, and each row would have two parts. The first part would be on the left side. Let me try to explain what I'm saying. Let me quickly show you the Adobe Xd screen. So as you can see here in the design, we can see that the rows would be these three rows, first of all, and the columns would be these three columns. So first of all, we are adding rows, and each row would have uh, two parts. First row house would contain first six elements, then there would be a gap, and then the remaining six of elements. So this is the structure we are going to follow. Then the second row, then the third row. So this is the structure we are going to follow. So let's get back to coding, and let's continue. So in our row, there would be another grid which would we would call row half. So first half, and then there would be another row half, which would include here. And then there is a class which would we would call cell. Each cell or element which would contain different elements. So let's quickly create six of those. Two, three, four, five, and six. This is first half, and then this is second half. So in this second half, we also have these cells. So this is one row complete. Then there is second row and the third row. So this would conclude our rows. So let me quickly add styles for the rows. So for rows, let's quickly, first of all, we need to give the style of Ludo grid, and then we have Ludo grid class, then we have Ludo rows, and then we have row and row half. So let me quickly add the style. So first of all, we have Ludo grid, which have display of flex and which is 100%. And we are basically we are justifying the content in the center. And in case of Ludo rows, we have the flex direction of column. So our one row would stack on the top of other and so on. Then there is a row class which has display of flex and width of 100%, and we have justify content as flex start. So this is good, and we have gap of 150 pixels, and we have this is vertical alignment, so it should be at center. And the first row would have a width of 300 pixels. Because there are going to be cells consisting of 50 by 50, so 300 divided by 50 would be 6 would be 50. So we need six cells. So let's also give a style for the cell. So let's quickly add the style for cells. So for cells, we need to use the background color. We can use white color as well. So, but I'm creating the cells based on the dark theme. So let's add those, and let's see how this looks. Okay, we have added cells, we have added row and row half. So we have our three rows. Let's see how this looks in the browser. So let's refresh. Okay, we can see that we have these three rows, and they're properly being represented here. So now we need to do the same process, but for the columns. These three rows have been added, and now we need to add the columns. So let's quickly add the columns as well. So the columns, they would have the same markup. We just need to think about creatively trying to resolve them. Okay, so we need to copy this. And now we also need to give this an idea of columns, and rest would the markup would remain same, but we would need to change some properties in case of Ludo columns. So let me quickly add that style here. Basically, we would utilize the same markup, but we would give some specific properties to to the columns. So let me quickly add those properties. So in case of Ludo columns, we have to give the position of absolute, so they are not bound inside the grid. Then we also, in case of Ludo columns, the row should have the flex direction of column, and its width should be only 50 pixels. So row should only have 50 pixels, and when it becomes a column, then automatically all the elements would start lining up vertically. And we also need to give the row half and the half row grid. This one, this element, we also need to give it the left direction of column. So let's see if we have successfully been able to add the columns. So let's hit refresh. And as you can see that we have also added this part of the grid. So we can see that we have added the grids successfully. Now we also need to give specific colors to different row and column elements so that it looks like a Ludo, and we have to assign the colors to correct spots in the grid where there are safe zones or stops. So let's quickly add those and then we will resume. So we are here. I would quickly look at individual cells and add the styles. Here, give it the subclass. Here, uh, our this subclass would come in handy. This red, green, blue, and yellow colors. So let me quickly add that, and then we would resume. Okay, so we have added the subclasses properly. We have I've looked into the uh, design and back and forth and have added all the subclasses quickly. So let's see if we can see them visually. So let's go back to the browser and hit refresh. So we can see that we have these elements added quickly, the stops or rest places. Now we need to think about this central destinations for each house. So let's start thinking about that. Okay, so we need basically rotated triangles in the middle. So after this, we need to add those elements here. So uh, those elements would be um, these are going to be divs. So let's add some divs here. So let me explain. This is basically this as a class of destination. We would create that element, and then each destination has different subclasses: red, green, blue, and yellow. And we also have ID. Basically, the ID is to it will come in handy later when we want to know that the position of token is inside these destinations or not. So we would need these IDs to specifically select those elements. So let's go ahead and add the styling for those. So first of all, in the destination, we need to know that. Let me quickly grab the style for destination, and then we could. Okay, so here we are. Here we are going to add the styles for destination. So first of all, this element would be each element would be placed in the center. Its position is absolute and its width and height are 150 by 150. And this is a trick when we want to position absolute elements at the center, we give top and left 50%, and then we translate them their internal elements X and Y to -50 and 50%. This would centralize the element. Now each element of this destination would be centered, and then we are introduced to clip paths. So clip path is a very nice tool which helps us in creating the clip paths. I will just quickly explain the first one. Okay, for red. For red, start from top left corner, 0, 0. Then go to 50, 50, which is central midpoint. Then go back to the left and bottom left corner. So this would create a triangle in for red. Similarly, this would create a triangle for green, yellow, and blue. And how did I come up with these numbers? So let me quickly share a very nice resource. This is basically a very nice resource to create the clip parts from any template. So right now we are studying the star. We would also need this, and when we are going to add token. So first of all, here we can see there are many simple shapes, and we can use this to create different types of clip paths. So first of all, let's say see a triangle. So for triangle, there are three sides, and what I was showing you would look something like this. So we are giving it basically the order of elements could be anywhere. So the first element is this, and the second element is this. So from top to bottom, we have 0, 0, and 0 and 100%, and in the middle element would be 50-50%. So this would join them and create a triangle. So this is what we are seeing for the red one. So let's quickly, we have added the styling for those, and let's quickly refresh the page. So we can see that we have successfully added the destinations for each house. So our Ludo board is pretty much complete. We just need to add tokens. So let's go to our markup and let's think about styling the tokens. So for token, we would need different elements. So first of all, let's add the red tokens. So let me quickly create the markup for the red token. So let me show what's inside this red token. So first of all, we have a class of token, then there is a subclass for color. Then we have an ID, red token one, because each token is going to be unique. So we have to give them ID as well. And we would use these IDs in JavaScript when we are implementing the gameplay. Then we have an inner class. This class is so we have an inner class, and we have basically we have a token, then we have an inner class, and we have a wrapper for the inner class. So we would use these elements to create a token. The outer one would be a circle, the inner one would be a star. So let's quickly give the style to these elements, and let me revert it back because we don't need indentation here. It's simple. So let's okay. So we have our tokens for red. So let's quickly give them style. So we should note that these tokens are going to be absolute elements. So our styles need to be handcrafted. So we have to figure out the numbers for them. So first of all, let me quickly give the styles for the red tokens. So first of all, let's give the generic style for the tokens and tokens inner and all those elements. So first of all, let's have these here. So first of all, here we have a token which have position absolute, and its width is 50%, 50 pixel, and it is a round one, and it has a box shadow. So it has a display of flex, and the elements inside would be at the center. Then token inner, we are giving it a width and height of 90%, and similarly it would be a circle. but we are giving it a polling clip path. So basically, this clip path is what it may what we are talking about. It makes it look like a star. Where we are seeing the website, we can figure these numbers out there. And then we have a display of flex and justify content center. And this one is token inner would be the actual star. This is basically like a shadow for the star, and this is the actual star. So we would give it a color of uh, token star color. So this would have the token star color, and these are the tokens. Basic styling. Now we need to give them correct position where they should be located. So let's let's grab the style for the tokens. So red. So let me quickly add the style for token. And so this is going to be the position from top and left for the right tokens. So let's see if we are able to quickly add the tokens, red tokens in their respective positions. So let's refresh. So we can see that we have four tokens of red color, and each have been properly aligned in its correct place. So now let's add the tokens for the remaining elements, and I will resume when we are done. Okay, so we have also added the style, these positions and styles for the green tokens, then for blue tokens, and for the yellow tokens. And we have also added the markup for those. So let's go back to our page and let's see if we have been able to add them correctly. So as we can see that our tokens are in place. So this is the point where we would stop. Here we have implemented the Ludo boards and the tokens and all the elements inside it correctly. And in the next part, we would see how we can implement a dice. And our dice is not going to be very simple, boring 2D dice. I'm thinking of creating a 3D dice. So please stay tuned and let's see how this works. And I will be back soon. Thanks for watching. And if you have any suggestions, please feel free to give your suggestions. Take care.